Hey guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and I am just tickled to be taking part in a new hop with Trinity Stamps and Pear Blossom Press. You already know how much I love all things lights. Yeah, I love all the things that Pear Blossom Press puts out, especially the one light. That one is really the easiest way to learn how to do your lights. But today we're pairing up with Trinity Stamps, and this is the super cute little guy that I'm going to be working with today. Yeah, I love this. I am still in a Halloween mood, although I am slowly drifting over to the Christmassy crafting side. Those will be coming soon. Anyhow, I'm still planning on doing some more Halloween cards, and this is going to be super cute to work with. I love this heart web. This is called Caught My Heart. Yeah, and so when I was searching through the website, it's like, this caught my eye, and I just could not resist. I had to get this one. So anyway, the way that the hop is going to work is going to be on YouTube and on Instagram, so you'll want to head over there to see all the pictures and all the things. But you'll want to watch all of the videos in this hop, and be sure to comment below. All the details, by the way, are going to be down in the description, so you won't miss anything. So I think I want to go ahead and stamp this out and get busy putting together a light up card. So I've got out a piece of watercolor paper. Yes, we're using watercolor paper today because I plan on using quite a bit of water on this, putting this together. So I've got it down in my MISTI, and I've got a waffle flower grip mat there holding everything in place. And I'm going to put my spider web right in the center. I'm going to be trimming this down, so I'm just going to put it in the middle, and we're going to work with it from there, and then we'll see how it goes. So I'll pick up the stamp, and we're going to stamp this in some white ink, and then we're going to heat emboss again in white embossing powder. Which means this time, although normally I do everything with Wow Clear Embossing Powder, this is Recollections. Wow Embossing Powder has got an anti-static feature to it, so it doesn't necessarily stick everywhere that you don't want it. This, however, does not have that, so I am going to use a powder bag. You can use whatever anti-static powder tool you have. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp it down in white. And that's just because what my plan is I want to do some resist. I haven't done that in a while. I thought that would be fun with this spider web. So that is what we're going to do here. I'm going to stamp it a couple of times, and then I'm going to emboss it. Okay, so I can see a little bit of shiny on there, so that means that there's ink there and should be able to emboss on there. And in this light you really can't see it. That's okay. Let's go ahead and pour some of the white embossing powder down on here. Okay, so now you can see, there we go. Now you can see that image is on there, and that what you're seeing is just the powder that is sitting on the surface. So now I'm going to take out my heat tool, turn it on, let it heat up for a couple of seconds. It's better if it's nice and hot, so give it 20 seconds or so, and then we're going to melt all of this until it's nice and shiny. So next I'm pulling out my templates for using the Pear Blossom Press light. This is actually something that I put together, and there is going to be a way for you to get that down in the description below. So you'll just need to sign up for my email list, and we will send that one out to you. But I've already cut off one of them and put a couple of holes in there. This is where the light is going to go, and this is where our button is going to go. And the reason I wanted to use this is it makes it a little bit easier for me to manage when I'm figuring out exactly where I want everything to go on my card. So what I'm going to do now, you can't really see it. Here in the center we have this heart. Okay, so that's where I want my light to go. I want the heart to light up. So I'm going to put this down with the hole right in the center of my light there, and then I'm going to turn this a little bit because I think I want to have, actually I'll put the button right there. I'm going to take a pencil out, and I'm going to just draw. So I'm going to take a pencil out, and I'm just going to draw a circle right where both of those are. So now I know when I look at this, I know right where I want everything. Okay, so this one is where I want to have my press here, or whatever the button is going to be. So before I start coloring this up, because we are going to be adding some color to this, I want to go ahead and stamp that down again in the same white heat embossed color. Okay, so I'm going to take out my stamps from Pear Blossom Press. So this is the Stamp and Die bundle. It's got all the different little things that you can add as your button. I'm going to just use the word push. And before we put that down, I am going to erase this so that I can see it a little bit, but it's not going to be obvious. You're not going to really be able to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that, but I know right where that button is supposed to be. Put a little bit of anti-static powder down there as well, and then we're going to just stamp and emboss it just like we did our web. So one thing I should have done, and this is just to make it easier for me to do the placement of the mechanism and the foam and all of that, is have a background panel. So I'm going to use a background panel for it because I do want some of this to kind of reflect off the back. Anyway, I'm going to use a white piece of cardstock for that, which means I need to kind of stamp this back in place so I know where it's going. So I've got the transparency that comes with it attached to my card. I'm just taped on there so that it's in the right spot. And now I'm going to line my stamp up right over the transparency and lift that up. There we go. And now I can put my card right down in the same spot. I've also drawn some lines on there so I can line this back up right on top of my cardstock, right on top of my watercolor paper once we get done and know that we've got everything in the right spot. And I'm just going to use some gray ink. I'm going to grab out some shady from Simon Hurley, but you could use any kind of a light colored ink that you want to. I really only need the heart and a little bit of the web. I don't really need the whole thing. But that gives me an idea of where I need everything to be. We'll use this piece later. So now we're going to work on adding some color to our watercolor piece. So I also want to make sure that our little heart there doesn't have a lot of excess color. Let's just put it that way. I want to be in control of what color goes there, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. So I am cutting out a mask. I just stamped again with the center of the stamp to get the heart, and now I'm just fussy cutting out a piece of post-it tape. Also, on my original image, I went ahead and used my template again to add where I've got the push button and where I plan on having the light. So I've got this on the template on the background piece as well. So we're all set there. So I can erase that off of my heart and put the mask down. And now this is all ready. So I decided to get messy, and I am using some sprays that I have in my stash. I've got some that are from Delusions, and I've got some of the mica stains. I'm going to start off with the Delusions because I want to save as much of the mica as I can, and just spraying a little bit down. But now you can see a little bit of that of that spider web. Let's come in with some of the green. So the blue was London Blue, and the green is Fresh Lime. If these are still available, which I'm assuming they are, although they are a couple of years old, I will link them down below for you guys. Okay, so now I think I'm going to spray a little bit of water in there to let this stuff mix. This is just a mister. And that'll let some of those colors just kind of mix. And then I'm going to add in some of the micas. I've got several different ones out. I'm starting off with a little bit of Harvest Moon. This will definitely add some shimmer to it. I've got Flickering Candle out. Not 100% sure I'm going to use it. So instead I'm going to bring out some Jack-o'-lantern Orange. So we've got some orange going on over there. And then we've got some Hocus Pocus, which I think I should probably have on that side too. It's really going to turn it a little bit brown regardless of where I spray it. And then Specimen. I'm not sure what color this one is. I think it's a green. It looks kind of greenish brown, so it's kind of Kind of gross, right? But it does add a little bit of depth to that. So I'm going to spray a little bit more water on here so the colors can kind of mingle and mix a little bit together. And then we're going to let it dry. And then we can start assembling. I might actually bring in some other colors once it's dry, but we shall see. Okay, I am loving how this is looking. So let me get that Post-it tape off. I'm going to try not to get my hands all in the part that's still not dry. Most of it's dry. And it looks like it went under, but look, that looks cool. Actually wound up with some of the darker green. So that actually looks really cool. That one spot does not have the shimmer on it. So yeah, I think that turned out pretty good. It's not what I intended, but it still turned out pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to blot the rest of this off, and then we can trim it down so we can start putting our light on here. Okay, so I made a discovery. First off, doing all of the ink, I cannot see where I drew the lines before, so that was pretty much a waste of time. I can see where my button is. I am loving how I did it. And this piece here is all because, actually most of this is because I added that little extra bit of water after I did all the spraying. So all the colors ran together. We got some of that bright yellow still showing through, and this looks absolutely fabulous. Yeah, I get tickled when things turn out even better than I expected. So I can hold this up and make sure it's positioned about right, and that way I can put my fingernail and be able to mark on the back. That's where the button is. And that's where the light is, so that now I can actually put it on the back. So let's grab out one of our lights. We're going to go ahead and do a test and make sure everything is as it's supposed to be. So this is the way the package comes. You've got, my package is a 5-pack, so it came with 5. I've already used one of them out of this package. And the circuit boards are all attached, so you just pop them apart and take one of the batteries. The batteries are really thin batteries. You need to make sure that if you ever need to replace them, you get the right size, because a lot of times you'll get some that are too thick, like this one. So this one is a CR2032, and this one is a CR2016. So the 16 tells you how tall it is or how high. We're going to want to test our battery pack to make sure everything works right. So you put it in with the plus side up. Plus side is marked on the mechanism and on the battery. Just slide that in and then push the button to make sure that it lights up. And it does. So that's perfect. So now I'm going to use my pieces here as a guide. Put the light there and the button there. So now I can turn it over. And of course I moved it a little bit. That's okay. Oh yes, this is going to be perfect. That is exactly what I wanted. Fabulous. Okay, so before we do that, we have our little spider. So I don't have a die for him. If I had a die for him, we could always add him separate later. I don't have a die for him, so I need to add him on here somewhere while we're doing this. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add him in some black. We're going to do some black embossing over everything here. So I'm going to grab out my Misty again. Again, taping my panel down because it is warped enough that it is not going to want to stick. I am loving this. Oh my goodness. Okay, and let's go with, I'm going to put him right about there. And we're going to, I need to tape it on this side too. Grab another piece of tape. To hold everything in place. I do not, after all of this, after it turned out so nice, I do not want it to mess up. So I'm going to use some of my VersaFine Clair Nocturne. And then we're going to go over the top with some clear embossing powder. And then I'm grabbing out my Wow Clear embossing powder. Now you could use black embossing powder, but what I found, for me anyway, a lot of times the black powder, no matter how much embossing powder or anti-static powder I put on there, I still wind up with it going in different places. So I do need to experiment with that again. It's been a while, but I don't really want to take a chance on this one. Okay, so I did see a downside to this. My little guy, yeah, you can see the web behind him because that white embossing is resisting the ink that I placed over the top of it. So I am going to stamp and fussy cut out our little spider. And there is our cute little spider. And now I can add that to the front of my card. Okay, now I'm going to trim this down. I'm going to try to keep my little spider in the center, or rather the heart in the center. Yeah, I think I want the heart in the center. So this line here, if I want this to be 4 by 5 1/4, yeah, I need to line it up with that one at the 2-inch mark. And the same with the top. I think that's pretty straight. So we're going to go with that. And then cut this down. I want more of the top. Yeah, we'll cut a little bit off the top and then line this up again. Now we should be at 4. And then at the bottom at 5 1/4. Oh, wow. I'm loving this panel. Oh my God. Okay, let's go ahead and start getting the rest of this together. So if I lined everything up correctly, I should be able to attach this to my background panel. And then we can layer this over the top and know exactly how much more I need to trim off of this. So that's the goal. So let me grab, since this is just going to be a test for the moment, I'm going to use a dot line adhesive. It's not really strong, so it's not going to hold my mechanism in place for long. And it makes it so that I'll be able to remove it. And then I can layer this over the top and push the button. Okay, that looks perfect. Okay. Okay, so I trimmed the sides along that line, and now I can just trim that, and that means that I should be able to, yeah, that looks like I did that perfect. Awesome. That means I should be able to just line up my panel right to where those lines were, and that should be about right. Okay, let's try it again. Looks like I wound up being a little bit lower than I was expecting. That still looks awesome. Okay, that actually puts the light right at the tip right there. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's where we're going to go. Yay. Okay, so now I'm going to use my pencil to trace where this is, and then I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive to attach it to this piece. So I took off all of the release paper, and I'm just going to put my little mechanism down right in that rectangle. And of course I have to test it again. Have to. It's still perfect. Love this. Okay, next we're going to take out our world's best foam tape from Pear Blossom Press. If you haven't already seen this, you're going to see a lot of it during this hop, by the way. If you haven't already seen this, this is something this is Amanda's brainchild. This is fabulous. So first off, the foam tape is the exact height that we need when we're doing our lights. So it is exactly that amount there. So it's going to give us the right height. So it's double thick, so that's perfect. The release paper comes off super, super easy. I mean, watch that again. Just the fingertip, not even needing to use my nails to get this off. Okay, that's part of it. But the biggest thing on here is that this is repositionable for 30 minutes. So when we mess up, because I do, when we mess up, especially as you are experimenting and learning all the things, as you're learning to do all of the things with your card making, you're going to mess up, and then you're going to need to move it again. And usually with most foams, you need to take the foam off, and you are going to rip your cardstock. Now with this, you don't need to rip your cardstock because it is repositionable. Okay, so I don't really need, well, let's look and see what it looks like. So we do have a little bit of a box there, but I think that's actually going to be fine. The tape is going to block some of the light. So if you put your tape down somewhere that you don't get the light to glow that you want, I would recommend moving your tape, moving your foam. This is going to be perfect though. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and adhere that down. Okay, then we're going to line it up with the bottom because we know that's where we want it. There we go. I am going to trim off a little bit because it looks like I've got it a little bit crooked, and I could just pop it off and try lining it up again, but I'm not going to do that this time because this is just as easy. And then we can put this onto our card base. So since I put it on that other panel, all I need to do now is just glue this down onto my card base. And I'm going with the black. I did trim the panel and everything down earlier down to 4 by 5 1/4, and that is so that I have this little 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. There we go. And our card is done. I'm not going to leave a sentiment on the front of it. I can add a sentiment or a message on the inside. I think this turned out just super gorgeous. Better than I imagined. Let's just put it this way. You never know when you're doing sprays how it's going to turn out, what the colors are going to look like. But using those micas, that gives it that little bit of shine there. I think this just turned out absolutely fabulous. So anyway, you guys be sure to check out the rest of the hop, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.